your own. Like it's a lot. It creates more story. You know, it's obviously it's hard to find shit like that, but it's just it's part of the game. Like that's what it is. I
It's
mean, we
half the
didn't.
fun.
Yeah,
I mean, I always attribute it to Christmas presents. I was never the type of kid that went down and opened up the wrapping paper in the corner to see what it was because I was more excited to see what was there Christmas morning.
right. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's all about it builds a story. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if people are just finding out every one way, it's just like, would you get a letter from a cousin that doesn't live in the city, and they're just like, yeah, hey, this spot's over here, and this is exactly what you need to get into it, or what have you.
I mean, if
It's
you've heard them say that they've had a letter from a cousin,
right.
feel free to slap
No,
that
I'm
in a
just saying.
ticket. I was just gonna say.
But yeah, I feel like like I said, it's definitely our responsibility as streamers to censor our content. I mean, we shouldn't have to, but I feel like it needs to be said just because we do have people that might meta things in the city, and I hate to say that, but I mean it's true, and it just needs to be it needs to be dealt with.
I mean, we can't as staff tell you
Right.
streamers what you can and you can't do in your stream. I would just hope that, anybody else that's streaming in the city that's part of the meeting right now actually takes on board what you said as a really good idea, quite frankly.
All right. Well, that's all I need to say. I appreciate y'all listening. Y'all have a great one.
Yeah, you
You
too, man.
too, no worries. Thank you very much.
Cletus, Cletus here.
I think we have a couple people want to speak here. Red, go ahead and invite. Go ahead and accept that invite.
Hey, you guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can hear.
Hey, so I'm new to the city, but regarding the used car thing, I have a character who's an elder used car salesman that was in another now defunct city that I was in. Is there any potential interest or, you know, consideration for having an actual used car lot run by employees and actual people, or does the way things work now, does everybody think that that's definitely like the way to keep it?
Um, I mean, I think for now it's the easiest, best way. Um, I mean, we've even had issues with PDM in the past where we didn't have staff on during certain times, and so people um, couldn't purchase. And I think we run into the same thing if we get into another car lot. Not saying that it's not something that can't happen, and if that's something you're interested in, I'd encourage you to submit an org ticket.
Okay.
I
With
think, sorry to cut you off there, Finch. I think the issue that you're going to run into there is that um, people are not going to sell their cars cheap enough for you to actually make a living out of it. And I think that in itself creates a problem.
So
Where,
so I would my only response to that would be that I found that it was surprising in the other city how interested people were in participating in the used car lot, and just how much good role play it brought to things. It ended up being a place that a lot of people kind of congregated, and a lot of people would bring their cars that they just kind of don't use anymore and try to just get some money back for them. And then I had a garage on site that I'd be able to pull cars in and out of to alleviate the pressure on the actual lot because it was at Mosley's. So if there's a ticket I need to submit, and we can look at that at a later date. I'm not looking to, I've been in the city for like a month, but only actually playing for like a week or so. I'm not looking to dominate the conversation here or anything. It was just something I wanted to introduce as a potential idea. So if there's some ticket I can look into filling out, and we can go from there, that sounds great to me.
Yep.
if you have some kind of business plan, you can open up an org ticket and let us know.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Take care.
Michael Stonebridge, you're next, sir. Accept that invite, please.
Good evening.
Evening.
Howdy.
I wanted to touch on my ticket as well with the low effort RP with taking hostages at a business place. Although since actually putting in that suggestion in the topic, it is actually reduced a lot, and also we've had actually some quite good RP with the PD in getting security hired for the store or for the shop.
Wait, you took care of a situation in RP?
Yeah,
How about that? Wow.
yeah, I know, right?
Good job,
Fucking,
good job.
it's like it's a serious RP server.
Yeah.
And then coming down, and also just touching on the PDM one. What Zane put in with the overpriced things. I mean, there's a bike that's like what 10K, I think at PDM that's up for sale at 100K, and it was just a typo, and the person left it there. And another person just decided, wasn't agreeing on what you guys was doing as a city, and just out of spite decided to put a car that's like what 70K, like for 65K. So I kind of know what he's doing, and also, you guys might know I actually got a second-hand call out at Central Repair because I put in an organization ticket to own Sunwise Autos as a second-hand call out, and I do a lot of the second-hand car sales as well. And there's also a lot of RP to be done out of that as well. So what that person that was just new in the city, if he wants to come in, like I'll definitely hire him at Central to be my secondhand car salesman. But yeah, I think there is something like maybe a timer or something would be a really good idea, because if there's good deals to be done on cars, those cars are always gone. Like they get sold quick, and even if the people then also put in the effort to put it up on Auto Trader, then it goes out to the masses, and that's just a lot easier as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things regarding that. And then also another thing that I've also talked to PD about it. In character, which actually goes back down to the hostage taken at businesses. I had last 2 weeks. I've hired 17 people at my repair shop, and I have a lot of mechanics on and off duty. And especially when we have them on duty, we have like 5 people around at the shop, and it's a lot of fun, and we have a lot of cool conversations. But it's also prime time to get taken hostage. Now, we've had people come in and be like, oh yeah, we need 1 or 2 hostages, like just literally ask us. We've had people force us into it, but then also there's no RP going into the bank robbery, which I just want to say to everybody that's listening, if you're going to take somebody hostage, please put a little bit of RP in it, make it interesting for the hostage as well, so they can, play along, go with it as well. And also, going towards after the hostage taken, we get, they say like the hostages go to the left, police says hostages go to the left, people get, probably free passage as a request. And after that, like the RP is over. There are no statements taken from police, from the hostages. I've had one guy who is brand new to the city. He knows exactly how to do a fleeker bang because the hostage takers took him and were explaining to amongst themselves how to do a fleeker. Like he knows exactly how to do a fleeker now, and he's been in the city for like 4 weeks, for 4 days. So I mean, getting also the PD to take their time, get a statement from us and whatnot would be awesome RP, and it wouldn't make being taken hostage as a business that bad really. So that's just my take on it.
I'll let you tackle that one, Finch.
Yeah, I mean, law enforcement officers, I can tell you from my personal experiences, should be taking your ID. It should be, asking you if did anybody use any names that Did they give you any sign of who they might be? Did you have anybody that maybe came by and scouted out your place earlier? Those are types of questions I ask. But I usually get, I usually don't get a lot of feedback from the other side of the fence. So it's a lot of no, they didn't say nope, nope. Okay, I got a ride coming. So it's like, okay, well, there's not a lot of information to take a lot of times. It's usually a pretty quick interaction between law enforcement and the hostage.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you
I
could always go
understand that
down
as
to
well.
the
Oh, sorry.
you could always go down to MRPD and submit a report yourself.
That's what they say to us when, for instance, they have another urgent response that they have to go to, like for instance, say shots fired or something. But then again, what is the follow up on that? We don't. There is no. We file in a report. I could file in. I took my time, maybe 3 times or some, to fill in a very detailed report, and then I just don't. There's nothing happens from that. Which I understand as well. I understand it completely, but it is just missing out on a little bit of story. Like I'm not trying to point fingers and say like, oh, you got to do better. I'm just saying like this is an avenue that we could explore as as characters in the city, at our own leisure really. Yeah, so that really, because I know what Finch is talking about as well. Like if I know the people that take me hostage, for instance, like I have an idea of who they are, and then I know that I'm okay with them, outside of whatever the hostage taking situation is. I might actually say no, and then I also have some people that I'm like, man, I think you would be very good, if you would be caught or something, and then I'll just be like, yeah, no, that dude's name is blah 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 blah, and he was talking about this to somebody else.
Yeah, and I think it
Oh,
goes back to, I think all of that goes back into the original statements earlier about the low effort hostage taking. Hey, I need a hostage. Well, that person's never going to tell us they know who it is, right? So again, we can. That's why I said we could tit for tat. We could beat the horse till it's dead twice over, and it goes back to what Mark and Angel both said. Everybody has to just care about the other person's RP just a little bit, and if we would all participate in that philosophy, then things may change.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds more than fair. Like we all just got to do a little bit better. That sounds fair to me. Well, and that was pretty much it. And I don't know what you guys have done, but the city is popping right now, and I love being a part of it.
I'm glad to
That
hear
is
that.
largely due to the thanks of the app team. They've done an incredible job.
Yeah, I don't know why, but you guys messed up my whole sleep schedule, and I somehow like hate and / love you for it.
You're very welcome. Well, thank you for your comments.
All right, have a good one. Catch you later.
Take care.
You too. I keep going to the wrong channel to find the next topic.
Yeah, Pedro's up here. Pedro Poop.
Junior.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to forget the junior.
Remember, vote for Pedro, folks. Just kidding. My question is, it has to do more along the lines of car customization, because some of them I've noticed working in Auto Exotic, you have a lot of the cosmetics aren't actually attached, or they cause the car, if somebody walks by them, to crumple like a can.
Huh?
So I guess it would be along the it's like a hitbox. And I've noticed that when somebody comes into the shop and we're working through cosmetics, I've had a couple people walk by the front of it, and it looks like they've actually been in a major car accident and they have to and they had to repair it.
That's interesting. As someone who works on a lot of cars, I've never had that happen prior or heard about it up until this point. And I do a lot of cosmetics on vehicles. It might be localized to maybe there's some kind of desync happening. But if you can recreate it, I would love you to do so and put in maybe a video in a ticket that I could.
Oh, well, I would
look at.
absolutely. If it happens again, I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, please, because I've never even heard of that before, and I'm doing cars
So-
with 6-star for
Well,
3-4
so what
hours
it
a
is
day.
is when you pull the auto exotic, it's the bay that's by. If you're looking at it, it's the bay in the middle, and the person pulls up, and then you have the Dodge Viper on the lift. If you pull it in at a certain angle, somebody walks around the front, and the right front of the car gets caved in.
So are they desyncing into the lift? I haven't
Uh,
actually been into auto exotic, so I would have to come and look at it. But
Yeah.
I would like to see it recreated. So yeah, if you can, absolutely, I'd love to have a look at that.
And another question about the same thing. I've noticed a lot of the cars that people have been buying, they have stated that they would like more stuff added to them. So like the Revolution, the Karuma, they've asked, hey, are they gonna do more like bumpers, skirts, rear bumpers?
So that's locked to the model, right? So whenever we
Yeah.
have a model, that's why like not everything has everything. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
every model in the city has a certain list of parts that have been added to that vehicle by the modeler. So we would have to go back to the modeler of whatever the vehicle is and request they put more parts on it. That's just not something we can do. It's just not feasible. I'm sure we'd all love 10 body kits for every car we own, but it's just not feasible. It's just not going to happen.
Personally, I just want one for the Corvette.
Yeah. And that's the problem with imports. A lot of imports don't have all those LODs.
Well,
So.
it's the PDM one.
Yeah, it's still imported. It's still an import. It's just an import that PDM sells. You know what I mean? Real cars. Like every real car in the city, has been put into the city by G, and those are all built by modelers somewhere to do a certain thing. And just some of them just don't have any options. You know what I mean? It's not like the upgrades where G can go in and kind of fuck with it on the back end and make sure that they can have upgrades. But for body parts, it just isn't that easy.
So basically, you'd have to go straight to the manufacturer and say, "Hey, we want this,"
And
pay
that's
them
not
X
going to
money.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we aren't in a financial position to
no, that's understandable.
to
That's
throw that kind
understandable.
of money around just for a couple of body kits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's understandable.
Even if we could find the original modeler of whatever vehicle it is that we're looking at.
Yeah, and then just to have them turn around and say, "Nah, we're good."
Yeah, probably.
I do appreciate that. That's pretty much all I had to ask. Just, I've noticed just those few notices that I've. Sorry, I'm bad with words. The few things I have noticed while working on them is just those.
Like I said, if you can recreate that, definitely get a video together and come see us about it. Open up a ticket, and we'll see if we can't fix it.
Also, there was a couple. I think it was the Revolution and a couple other cars. It's only like 2 or 3. The fin or the spoilers aren't actually attached to the car. They sit like if it was in person, it'd be like an inch or so off the car. It's just floating there.
Thanks, modeler.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
See,
not
I
also not a
don't
thing.
know.
we
I've
could
only
do.
been here like not even a month. So
No, you're fine. That's like car stuff, like some stuff like Sam, Marlo, and G can fix. But I don't think that's one of those things. I mean, they can always have a look at it, but the chances are not great.
Yeah, they're very minuscule.
Because that's a whole ball of wax. You know what I mean? Trying to mess with vehicle modeling is not easy.
Well, I do appreciate your time.
We
Also,
appreciate
I blame Harry for all the people that run around with pink motorcycle helmets because he has pink hair.
What can I say? I'm spreading the wealth.
That's not the only thing you spread. Sorry.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for your comments. Bye now.
Love you guys.
All right.
Love you
Cletus
too.
had.
You gotta say it back. God damn it. There you go.
Well, I was waiting on you. You didn't pipe up there,
I'm
Jared.
here.
Wow. Get with the program. You over there taking a nap, you old bastard.
He's counting
Cle-
his Viagra.
He's trying to get it sorted before the night shift.
Yeah.
That could go so many ways.
That's not-
Cletus, the automatic pings, it is what it is. I mean, there's no way to maybe make it work a different way or maybe not make it work a different way. There's a
They
lot.
are random.
They are
and
random.
They,
Yeah.
they can get pinged whether it was a successful sale or an unsuccessful sale. And don't forget that it's random for everybody in the city. You may not be the only person selling drugs at that time. So, you know, you might have just had a bad run of luck.
Yeah, it's a complete randomizer. So I don't know what the ratio is. I'm not a dev and I don't code, but you know, assuming like what Mark said, we'll just 3 is a nice number. Let's say 3 people make a sell close to the same time. First 2 are get off easy. Third guy gets hit, right? So just keep that in mind. I mean, it is what it is. I understand maybe some of the frustrations of being out in the middle of nowhere and the police get called. It is what it is. I don't really know that we can answer that any other way.
It's not go arrest. It's a call to create RP. So whenever they show up, they're not just going to show up, slap you in cuffs, say, "Oh, you were fighting." It's a chance for them to interact with you about what happened.
And if
It
that
draws them
happens,
to
please
it.
let us know
Yeah,
because we
yes,
we
yeah.
need to know if that thing that Jared just said isn't happening is indeed happening. Please open up either an LEO ticket or a support ticket, so that the people who can handle that know and can handle it.
And also, you know, like just because you can't see a local doesn't mean to say there's not one around. You know, there could be somebody hiding behind a building. There could be somebody hiding behind a tree, you know, and they're the ones that have called it in. I'm just mentioning that to take the second part of what you were saying about the killing a cow and stuff.
Yeah, that was kind of. I was actually there for that. He he didn't even have a weapon out, and he accidentally punched a cow, and all of a sudden, we had like two trucks show up, and there was nobody around for miles and miles and miles.
Maybe the cow's relatives called for you assaulting it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But it was a real messed up kind of situation where there just should not have been a ping. There was like just nothing. It was
It kind of
just
sounds like this guy might need to get out of the crime outlet. He's having some bad luck. I don't know. It is what it is. I don't.
Sounds like it was a moose's problem. Complete
God.
self.
Wow. Well, that'll conclude today. No.
that'll conclude today's meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for coming. We won't be able to top that. If we didn't get to your topic, please kill Mark Buddy.
Again. What?
Wow.
It you know the banter you guys are all hearing, like this is the staff team. Like we take our role responsibility seriously, but you know there's no hard feelings between any of us, and we have no hard feelings about anybody in the community. We address issues as they're brought to us, and it's like a referee in your favorite soccer or football or basketball game. I mean, we just make a judgment based off of rules. So I hope you all appreciate being able to hear some of the banter and whatnot. But I like to throw that out. I think sometimes people think that we're like a bunch of aggravated old men, women, whatever, just, you know, always grouchy, but we're not. We're really not. Only Mark.
Thanks. I was wondering that was going to get thrown out.
Aren't you glad you came, Mark? I'm sure you're real
Well,
happy
you
to
know,
fucking
yeah.
be here.
Well, that would be a first time in a long time.
I
Angel.
knew you were gonna go there.
Growing weed inside of your motel.
I
How'd
think
you
that
go?
one's been hit with FOIC a lot.
I think, yeah, I think that's one of those find out in character kind of situations where you can and cannot grow weed. My suggestion is you go and try and can or cannot grow the weed there, and then you'll
Yeah.
answer that question yourself. We're happy to answer pretty much everything except for the things that you would be able to find out with just a little bit of investigative work.
Yeah, just a little. I like how, you know, I mean, you even said you not pop, but never mind. We'll move on. Refining vehicle damage. Again, Angel, maybe you can elaborate, but my understanding is all that's pretty much preloaded in a lot of the vehicles.
What are we talking about? Sorry, I missed it.
Refining vehicle damage.
Okay, so vehicle damage is a script, right? And every city uses a different script for their vehicle damage. The one we use is actually super good based on being around for a while. I've seen some real bad ones, and I haven't had a real hard time. There are some vehicles that might need to be looked at a little more closely, but it is like if you come across a vehicle that just damages out without really any issues, you should probably reach out and kind of let us know what models those are, because again, we don't always know, but like as a general whole, the damage modifiers and the way the damage works in the city for vehicles is actually really, really good, based on previous experience. But like I say, if there's a vehicle that you think might need a tweak, I would open up a ticket and kind of let us know. Because if we can look at it, the worst that we're going to tell you is that, yes, that is because kind of how that one's going to work. And I mean, we're doing our best, throw some armor on it or take the armor off. But you should definitely.
As soon as something comes out that, you know, with the car repairs, I'm sure it will get added.
Hello. I'll give everybody a second to turn me down if you need.
No, go on, you're all right.
So the place that I was coming from with that, and the first place was actually a couple weeks ago that I ran into it. And just my general thoughts on it. I'm glad you gave me the clarification, Angel, on, you know, it being kind of, you know, specific, and if there's any specific problems, I can bring it up. But just for example, I was in a car, we were driving, and I hit a pole. I was going about 100, but I hit a sign, not like a big pole, just a sign. And I took my top speed from like 145 down to 128, and I couldn't get past that. And the only reason I said simple, that sounded more like a crude term. I think more linear is a better example. But in terms of, you know, if something hits my back tail end, my engine brakes, was kind of where I was coming with that. Because you know, I've seen cities as well where there's specifics to different things.
No, of course, and I mean, I'm with you with that. But let me just tell you, like the amount, like what you're asking for is very, very intensive server side, because the server has to read, like if we had every vehicle with specific point damage, and I've seen cities with that before. Most of the drift cities that I used to go to just to kind of drive around, they have that, but that's literally all they're running. They're running that and vehicle mods, you know. So it's not that big a drain on the city. And I can tell you right now, Great is hosted on some pretty powerful hardware, and I mean, we do the best we can, but is it really worth the server draw to have that kind of realism? Like a lot of people would start having more head pops and more issues. It's just one of those things that it has to be tempered out with, is it worth it for the greater good of the community? And I mean, I'd love it, but I just don't think there is a time when you'll have a city with everything you ever want in it without kind of giving up some allowances.
Oh, of course. And that was also kind of coupled with, and I wanted to hear other people's opinion on it too, with like armor on a car, because I think it's a good thing to make it so your car can last a little longer and take, you know, a couple more hits. But there's also part of my mind that has the sense to think sometimes it's a shame, whether it's in city, you know, you grinded really a long time for whatever car you want, vehicle, doesn't matter, or out of the city, you got an import, and you know, then you have to throw armor on it so it doesn't break right away, which then makes it, you know, takes about 15 off the top end. And I know that, you know, we're not always sitting at those top speeds, but I just wanted to hear someone talk about that, because for me, it would just seem like a slight bummer.
Are you in conflict with the fact that you're adding weight to your vehicle and it slows you down?
No, but that was coupled with, what is breaking, which is why I brought it up. Because,
Okay.
armor, like if you put a bunch of armor on something, that doesn't necessarily mean your shocks aren't going to break. So that's why all that was like coupled in together.
So yeah, what you're talking about is some, like, again, some pretty intense vehicle coding. And
Mhm.
at the time, I mean, if you put like, I don't put armor on my cars. I just
Neither
don't
do
do
I.
it.
Just don't
Um,
crash.
I don't. I generally don't get into situations where that's a problem. I don't generally speed around. I mean, I probably go, 60, 70, but I'm not going 130 through the city, so I don't generally just get smashed on that. Um, I guess if you don't, if you want to be able, your car to be able to take a hit, you have to put armor on it. You have to kind of deal with the fact that you're going to lose speed out of it. That's just kind of goes hand in hand with each other. I don't think there's a way to avoid that.
I have to
Um,
say, in my experience, and I've road tested quite a lot of cars in the city, and I've tested them unupgraded and fully upgraded, and I've also upgraded them without armor and with armor, and I've never seen the speed go slower with armor.
Oh, it definitely does.
Honestly, I've never had it.
You're obviously not paying attention. You're old though, so I mean, you're probably off your meds that day.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, you're probably off your meds that day. It's okay. We still love you. If you don't want to lose speed on your car, don't go past 3 armor. You won't lose enough to notice. At 3 is generally what we tell people. Max armor, you're going to go slower. That's just what I've trained my staff to say, and that's what I say. So I'm sure there's a sweet spot somewhere where you can get a bit of a bit of armor and not lose your
Mhm.
top speed. But
Right.
again, Pepper's right. Find out in character. Also, justice for Harry. I mean, does he really need any more justice? We tolerate him more than enough.
And then the other thing that I had in that ticket, or not in that ticket, in that post was a more refined, or a some sort of racing app. I say that crudely, but more of a way to connect with racers. Now, I see the system that we have now. The great thing about it that I see is that you have to know people to get into the scene, which is good because that forces you to, find people, talk to them, actually race and stuff like that. But the reason I mainly brought it up is because ways that it happens now is either there's a tweet out for a car show, or a couple people will show up just by word of mouth. But what I thought that might be good with that is, for instance, a lot of times I don't like to race people that are in imports if I'm in a domestic, in a place, or something that criminals that get their hands on whatever to see it, could see what it is, what a buy-in would be, how many people are in it, where it is, what track it is, stuff like that. I don't know if that's ever been talked about, and if it,
Several times. A lot of people bring that kind of thing up to me, and I say, find me the code that works, and have it so it's not blatant meta, but also understand that, like, right now the way it works is as inconspicuous as you're going to get. If you start allowing for the things that you're talking about, you have to start allowing for the fact that cops are going to get a hold of it. I know before there was a radio channel that people would go to, cops found it, everybody complained. They were just broadcasting it on Twitter, cops saw it, showed up, everybody complained. So giving cops more time to catch you seems like a bad idea, when right now it kind of is working out the way it's working out. Everybody's super subtle about it. I mean, the cops are still getting involved, but it's not as easy. So how much do you want? You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I get where you're
Find,
coming
because
from.
you're talking about a very specific piece of code. Find it, submit it. That's all I can say. I mean, the devs have never turned down a good idea that worked. So, find me a good idea, submit the good idea, submit the code that makes that idea work, because they don't have time to build that from scratch. So find me the piece of code that actually functions. And if it works, you never know, maybe. But it has to work, right? So if you have something in mind, open up a ticket, let the devs get a hold of it, see if it's something they can make function. And if it's not, don't have your feelings hurt when they say that's just not going to function here.
No, yeah, I'm not gonna have my feelings hurt about it. But no, that sounds good. Last thing, and this was brought up in a previous point with rule of 4 that I put in there, and just to bring up. So I've been in a scenario where 3 people are hitting a bank, and they needed a car not to poof. Is there any exception for a fifth just to be at a car, and when
No.
they're getting near the area, they
No,
walk
hard no.
away from the car?
Let me stop you hard now. There's never an exception to break the rule of 4. It doesn't matter what the reason is, because if we start opening that can of worms, everybody starts finding a reason for it to be a thing. So no, the answer is no.
All right. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys letting me speak, and I've been here for about a month, and honestly, this is all the awesome stuff in the city. Aside, the community is honestly the best thing here. You're all amazing people, and I love flying in every single day.
Yeah, we
Thanks very
appreciate
much
you.
for saying it.
Yeah. You all take care. Thank you.
So the next one is maybe having police only do pits when outside of city limits, or chases that go on for a long while to make it more fun and exciting for all parties in the situation. I mean, I think that this is probably best answered by Finch, actually.
Yeah, so it kind of goes along with what was just said about only the rule of 4, or maybe making an exception for that. If everyone knows there's an exception that police will never pitch you in the city limits, then no one will ever leave the city limits when they complete a heist, or they'll run back to the city limits as fast as possible. Again, I said it earlier for those that weren't here, but police have a protocol that they have to follow. Not going to elaborate what that is, but they have a protocol that they should be following. And there should be some type of chase. It shouldn't be a 20 seconds in, there's a pit. Now, again, please keep in mind, there is the desync that happens. I've had it happen plenty of times. People think I'm pitting them, and I had no intention, or on my end, I didn't even touch them. But as far as setting where police can pit, there's already plenty of restrictions in place for cops when they want to initiate a pit. I think adding another one is just not feasible, or better yet, it would serve the wrong purposes. And then as for the folding chairs, again, that's a coding thing. G is monitoring chat. Marlo's monitoring chat. If that's something that can be done with the chairs, then I'm sure that they can make that happen. As far as moving on to the next one, close for the GFC fights and things. If you have something, you can always open a ticket and supply that. The dev team can make a determination if that's something that they can put in. Outside of that, I mean, I don't know that anyone's come directly to the staff team or the dev team and made an example or provided an example of what they're wanting to add. I know that there's plenty of room for custom clothing, obviously with the clothing upgrade that we went through a couple months ago. That's something that can happen, but just have to open a ticket and submit your idea.
Tattoos are the hardest thing.
Yeah, tattoos that's your favorite thing, right, Marlo? You want a bunch of those?
Fuck that. Looking at tattoo files gives me a headache.
Let's say this. Let's just say this. Marlo is working on a way to be able to do the things you want, but it's going to take some time. Tattoo files are a giant pain in the dick. He's doing his best. Just give him time to figure out the best way it's going to
So
work.
how tattoos files work is they have to replace GTA files, and there's no way to really do that with 5M. So in single player it works because you can do it.
Yeah, just it's a good point of reference too. Just keep in mind, like we talk about modifications, vehicle mods, and things that require coding. Like Marlo's the kind of guy that can absolutely elaborate on those things. But it's I think a lot of us always take it for granted. I know I did. I took it for granted, like, oh, you tell a computer to do anything you want. Yeah, you can. It's just that when you tell it to do what you want it to do, it doesn't recognize it, and then you end up with a whole lot of programming. So, not everything is quite as easy. And if any of you have ever joined Marlo's stream or G stream and watched those guys code, my brain hurts about 30 seconds after tuning in, and I find it amazing that they can sit there and mess with that stuff for hours on end to give you guys the best experience possible.
So I heard the thing on about the person who brought up about putting body kits on cars and stuff. So that, yeah, that comes all down to who made the car. And half of these people who make the cars, once they're done with it, they're done with it. They don't want to touch it again. Like that Revolution, that's a wise guy car, and he's never gonna touch that again, probably. Finding good models with a lot of body parts is a hard thing because some of the parts stream high.
All right. Is Jason Clarkson around? Kelly Clarkson.
Again, I think his question is mostly directed at the dev team about getting rep doing oxy runs and scrapping cars and stuff. I mean, I kind of, for me personally, I'll just, in case he's waiting to put his hand up, for me personally, I think the rep system, you know, the way it is at the moment is difficult for a reason. And I think the way it works right now is actually pretty good. Because otherwise you could just, you know, bang out loads of oxy runs and all of a sudden you've got all of this rep.
All right. Outside of that, in that post, one thing I think is absolutely something that needs to be mentioned is, you know, while there are no green zones, it doesn't mean that your actions are free of consequence. So just keep that in mind. You know, we've had people, you know, walk into pillbox and stab someone or shoot someone with little to no RP prior to. And, you know, if you go into MRPD and decide to take hostages, you should understand that, you know, bad things could probably can or will happen to you. So, you know, all of those things kind of play hand in hand. So just don't feel like necessarily that, well, there's no green zone, I can go in here and do what I want. Yeah, well, first off, make sure that there's still good RP that goes into that, and then understand that wherever you're at, that there could be in character consequences for that, as well as out of character consequences.
I think Jason's put his hand up. You just need to accept the invite. Oh, he's gone.
Maybe I said what he was going to. I apologize.
Oh, he's back again.
Oh, there it is.
Someone give him some sticky back plastic.
I'm taking care of it right now.
Sorry, I wasn't sure where the accept came up. Yeah, so I was just I just have run into a few situations in the last few weeks, really, like since we've had this huge influx of people that they think that they're like, you know, they're not safe if they like run inside pillbox or, you know, and or that, like, and I know that there are a few people that mentioned this down the road, like taking people outside of pillbox is lazy because there's people that congregate there. Well, of course we're going to go to the places where people are congregating because that's where we can get people, because for you know, robberies or whatever. You know, it's becoming increasingly difficult sometimes because people are realizing this and hanging out inside of businesses, and obviously their numbers outnumber the people in the vehicle. So like it's just reminding people that there you know, if you're standing outside, you are
fair game.
able to be taken. Yeah, you're fair game. Like especially if there's 4 of us in a car, 2 of us in a car, and only one of you, like let's say one person has their gun out. I mean, you could go ahead and try, I guess, or maybe I'm mistaken in that situation. But I mean, there's 2 people with guns out on you, and you're not aiming at all. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken about the MVLA situation there, but um,
I think the
the
the best way to touch on that, what everybody needs to remember: are you outmanned and outgunned? Right.
right,
If the answer to either of those is yes, then there should be some fear RP taking place.
right,
It doesn't have to necessarily be a gun. A guy jumps out on you with a knife, and you don't have a knife or a gun in your hand. You need to, you got to play along. Guy slit your throat, right? So I just want to point that out. The best thing that's a pretense that law enforcement operates on is being outmanned, outgunned, right?
right.
We look at every situation to that philosophy.
As for the rep thing, yeah, I just brought that up because of possibilities. I've been in city with my current character probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. And you know, I don't know if a new rep system was implemented in the last 3 months or what we have now. Um, but I had robbed countless banks and never got a single ounce of rep. My police record will show that I had robbed, a ton of banks and stuff, and I never got a single ounce of rep. It wasn't until I started robbing Vangelicos and only Vangelicos that I got any kind of rep whatsoever. So like, I think if you can successfully complete maybe not individual like drop offs, but like an entire oxy run or something that actually requires you to complete a criminal activity, like you should get something. Like, I mean, pack is the hardest thing in the city to do, and you don't get anything if you know what I mean. Very rarely, if you do, you get maybe 1 rep for robbing a cart, but it takes skill to hack and to get to that point. So I mean, to not get anything is tough, when the only thing you can get it from is Vangelicos, it seems like, consistently, I should say.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's more of a question for the dev team, unfortunately. Like I
Right.
said, I think Guido's actually monitoring the chat. I don't know if he wants to try and answer you on that one.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I totally understand that. The last thing I wanted to talk about is chases. I've just noticed a lot lately. Some of the newer officers in the city um getting upset if I know you guys kind of touched on this a little while ago, like maybe not necessarily exploiting game mechanics, but getting creative with the chase, like going down into the subway tunnels if you have like a compact car and using the high rates of speed and the the small size of your vehicle to maneuver those tunnels without crashing as much as necessarily a cadet or somebody new to the force that doesn't know necessarily how to drive um, as well in their cruiser, to force them to crash so that you can get away easier. I've noticed that they want more realism with their chases and stuff like that, and I can understand that, but you have to, like, one of the things that I wanted to bring up was uh police cruisers outnumber the getaway car usually 3 to 1, and that gives you more visibility usually. 1 car goes down, there's another car right behind it to take its place, so having to get creative, because if in a straight up chase, there most of the vehicles go the same speed, but in a straight up chase, like, I mean, there's just uh and it all goes down to what Jerry said about fairness. It has to be some kind of balance. So if you want to, like, the police have more people and more vehicles in the chase, then well, we have to get creative with the getaways. And there might be going into the subway tunnel because there's no train operating. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in seeing that there is no problem in necessarily that. But yeah, for sure, not taking like jumps that are 10 stories high and riding it out.
No, you're spot on. I mean, again, you go into tunnels. That's something that's been a thing forever. Like, I'd say if folks struggle with that and have a crash or tend to crash in the tunnels, go practice or something. I don't know. As the kids say these days, get good.
Right.
I mean,
Bet.
yeah, bet. It's one of those things. I mean, there has to be some type of line to realism, and we go into taking those egregious jumps. But yeah, there's no malice in getting into the tunnels and running from the cops in the tunnels. I mean, I think that's probably one of the most creative ways that's kind of fallen off lately, because I think it's a high stakes game for law enforcement at that point. If they're one car behind the other, it can make it a pretty easy getaway for the suspect. So yeah, there's nothing wrong there. I think people, again, we get back into that win-loss mentality thing, and I'll even include discovery of the city. Like if you don't know how something works or you aren't very good at a specific task, then go try it. Like, go get out there and do it instead of waiting for the best person that you run around the city with to do it for you. I mean, that's probably the best way. Hell, Jerry can attest. When I first became a law enforcement officer, I was absolutely dog water when it came to shooting and driving. And now I hear all the
They
time,
used to.
"No, you shut your mouth, you old bastard." People say all the time, "Oh, Jerry's here or Finch is here. This chase is going to be long, or it's going to be tough to get away." And that's just from all the hours and just trying it out. I mean, that's
Right.
the best advice I can give anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I remember taking Jerry hostage one time, and you showed up, and we were like, Jesus. Yeah, well, there goes. We're going to jail. Like, that was pretty much like we told each other before we left. So yeah, no, I definitely, there are always going to be good drivers and bad drivers in the city, and there's crims that are bad drivers, and there are cops that are bad drivers, but it's the creativism. I don't know. It really needs to take more of a hold instead of I remember when I first joined, like, we were always doing something creative to get away, but obviously it gets tired. But if I keep doing it, there's a reason that I keep doing it. That means the officers need to learn how to counter that. Like, that's just how it is. Like, we'll figure something out and we'll do it until it's dead, and then we'll find something else, another creative way to get away.
Hey,
And it just
Yeah,
learning.
and
learning.
it's exactly what it says, learning. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been in a pursuit and somebody's heading a certain direction, and I'll call out over the radio, "Watch out for this. I've seen this a time or two." And then 30 seconds later, like, that's what happens. We all learn off of each other's actions, and I think that just kind of goes back into what we've talked about time and time again about being creative. And what was creative a month ago is no longer creative today. Someone else has seen it and they've tried it, and someone else tried it, and someone else tried it, and now we're 10 people into your creative idea, and so therefore it's now become a habit. And I think people they forget that, and and then they get frustrated. They think the cop or the crim is doing something that's overpowered and whatever. And it's like, no, it's just we have seen it so many times. It's just kind of like, all right, we know this is going to happen. And I'm sure it's the same way for the crim community. So the only way, again, just nothing wrong with what you said in chases and creativity and things like that. And I personally, I appreciate someone that's always looking for a new way, other than to run in the door, take whatever they're taking, and then try to try to drive away from the cops or run and jump in the ocean or something that's kind of like, well, that was fun, you know.
Yeah, yeah. 5 seconds after it happened, but
Hmm.
listen, I appreciate you guys taking the time. Thank you very much. Hope you guys have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't
You
worry about
too.
it.
Big
I don't know
slump.
how
Is,
to, I don't know how to leave.
There you go. Just like that.
is Big slumped around?
I think that's more of a ticket than a community meeting thing.
Yeah, well, I was just curious because I've never heard of that. Like that sounded really extreme to me, so I was intrigued.
Me too.
Yeah.
Very.
Big slump. Are you there? I'm not seeing him.
Okay. Well, if again anybody who's read that, and G, perfect example, please put in a LEO ticket. Provide us with some. If you have video in a situation like this, I'd really like to see the video. I get that things kind of happen quickly sometimes, but again, I have not heard of things that egregious by law enforcement. So if there is something that occurs, again, if you have a negative interaction, please open a Leo ticket so that Jerry and myself and High Command can address those for you.
Also, real quick, like I discussed earlier, the first sentence here, not being shot instantly as soon as punching a police officer while unarmed. I mean, once again, that's something that can be role played through. You get taken to the hospital, you get treatment or whatever. Someone reminds you what happened. I'm sure you'll remember some details of it. Get a lawyer. You're unarmed, you struck a cop with your fists, get a lawyer. Don't bottle it all up and then complain about it. OOC, not that he was complaining. I'm not saying
Excessive
that,
force.
but bringing forth your disdain for it. OOC, there we go. I'll use big words out here.
Such a copycat.
Word of the day: toilet paper's working out well for you.
You pulled the dictionary out for that one.
Yeah, he's been looking at the dictionary for like the last 40 minutes.
Trying to figure out which
Synonyms,
word it'd be.
synonyms, synonyms.
I'm not so sure about the Shineri bit,
It's
but
a
anyway.
thesaurus.
Be nice to Jerry. He don't talk much. We just got to let him say what he needs to say and give him his due when he says it. Everybody stroke Jerry's ego a little
Well,
bit.
he
He don't
shouldn't,
get it much otherwise.
he shouldn't show up using $10 words out of his $2 mouth, okay?
Oh.
Listen, you watch your mouth.
I can't help you anymore, Jerry. I tried for you, buddy, but
I appreciate you.
I
Hey,
mean,
there-
it
there's
is what it is.
1032s up here in town hall conversation piece.
Shots
See what
fired.
happens when you get shot at.
Again, more emotes. Hey, if you have ideas, you come across a script or something that's out there, please open a ticket. Let us know. Again, that's going to be something the dev team's going to have to take a look at.
So the next one's Alison King. I'm kind of hoping that she's ready to come up and speak about this one.
She might not. She did last meeting though. She did great last meeting. Everybody,
Hey.
let's cheer Allison on a little bit. Allison, we love you. Get up here.
There it is.
Am I on
She
the
got the
air?
invite.
You're on
you
the
are
air. What up?
the
What up,
air.
Miss King? What up, Miss
Uh-huh.
King?
Yo,
Look
what's
who it
up?
is.
There's
What's up?
5 million people
There he
listening
is.
to you right now. No stress.
Okay, don't say that. Don't say that. You didn't have to say that. But
No, you did great last time, Allison. Take a deep breath. Say what you need to say. You're good.
Okay, so basically what I was trying to say is I get slow burn or whatever you want to call it isn't for everybody and like stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think people need to remember that you're writing essentially an autobiography for your character. So it's like, what are you gonna do a year later when you're telling a new person about your experience in the city? Like, your life in the city. You're like, oh, I woke up every day and robbed a bank like once a day, like, I don't know, or like I shot a cop once a day. Like that's kind of crazy or bizarre to me. And I'm not saying people are doing that. Like, I'm not trying to say y'all are doing that, but it's just like I feel like some of the smaller interactions kind of can get overlooked, instead of people taking that opportunity to create a bigger story out of something small. You know what I mean? So like even with like, I don't know, gang wars or something, like maybe instead of just going to shoot that person in the face, maybe y'all can have like a bar fight or something, spark something up just out of nowhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mind if you come to Tequila La and be like, hey, I heard you were talking shit. Okay, boom, let's fight it out. And if it resolves to guns, then it resolves to guns. You know what I mean? I think people just like Alonzo said, like you love playing Call of Duty, so you just automatically pull your gun right off the bat, and it's like, mm, can we just like drag that out a little bit instead of just resulting to, hey, I'm gonna shoot you in the face right now, like in 2 seconds. You know what I mean? So that's just one thing, and I don't know if you guys have any comments for that, or maybe you can like try to explain a little bit more. I don't know, but that's just how I feel, and that's just my opinion. I can't speak for anybody else. So
I mean, I think we all want the same thing. We all want to have these great stories, and some people just sometimes forget that you don't always have to be John Wick. You can solve it in other ways. We got the Octagon events that come up if you got some beef, but it's not real serious. I mean, hook up with Marlo in City, hook up with Susio in City, hook up with the boys that get that shit on and get in the ring and fucking throw down. One person, having one issue with another person doesn't need to turn into 10 on 10 gang warfare because you called somebody's car ugly. I think some people forget that it's right. It's not all about the gunfight. It doesn't always need to be about the gunfight. And we talk about this all the time. It's role play, not gunplay. So let's just keep it going. Tell some deep stories, and I think everybody would enjoy it a little more.
right, right. And there's like a few other things I had just that popped in my head, like off topic, but so we're an MC. Could we do like a robbery on our bikes? And I know you guys are like, oh, don't take your bikes up the hills or whatever. Okay, that's fine. I can just ride on the road. That's fine. But like, can we start out on bikes? It's not like we're switching to bikes. We're starting out on the bikes. You know what I mean?
I don't have an
I
issue
don't
The
think.
issue
with
then, I
I don't.
think the issue. Oh, go on, Angel.
So I don't think that's the issue. I mean, none of the MC bikes are really that fast, so everything should be able to catch them, and it could make for a good chase. But I think because the issue becomes like if you have four people and four bikes, like that's just going to be four different high speed chases going on at once. That just seems like chaos. Um, it, I think the using bikes thing should be done in moderation. I think it should be done with a little bit of planning, a little bit of role play involved, um, and it should definitely not be used as just an instant win. I think that's part of the problem, is that people want that to continue, and doing it with bikes would make it really difficult to have any kind of chance either way.
Okay, so okay, we'll figure it out. Um, Another thing is like is there like anywhere where it says which jumps are okay and which aren't? Because I know there's been instances where a jump has been taken and it's like, yo, that jump wasn't okay, and it's like, okay, okay, that won't happen again, whatever. But I'm not a good getaway driver, and I was trying to get away from the cops like the other day for something, and I took a road or a passageway, but I didn't know it had to jump off the end, so I accidentally took a jump. And I don't know if that was okay, but nobody said anything to me, so I'm gonna just assume it was okay.
I don't think any jumps are okay. Like once you're like, I don't know if you've ever like actually jumped a car in real life, but I can promise you it never goes the way you think it's gonna go. And when you see cars doing it in movies and these stunt drivers, those cars are so heavily modified to be able to do the exact thing they're doing. That just doesn't happen here. it's just not a thing. Like taking your like dropping your car 25 feet, that car is not going to continue driving. Like you're gonna break chassis, you're gonna snap like control like there's just not like as a mechanic,
Crack
like this
the
is not
oil
a
pan.
thing. You are going to break your shit and you are no longer going to be mobile. So jumps just are not a realistic way to get anything done.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody who's watched like the Dukes of Hazzard, and I'm talking like the 1979 version, I remember hearing once upon a time there were like 300 vehicles that they ruined during the course of however many years they filmed that show, and like there's a lot of car enthusiasts that are very upset in this day and age because that's 300 less of those. Was it a Challenger, Angel? There's like 300 less of that year's
Challenger.
those years worth of challengers because these guys just like every time they filmed a show they took a big jump and they smashed up the car, and that's like the main thing is the whole immersion. And you think about somebody taking 100 plus miles an hour, they take a jump from the freeway down into the canals. The vehicle rolls over 3 times. They end up on their tires and they just drive off like nothing ever happened. And then it's that's where we get into like the realism.
Right. Okay. And then like my last my last point was just and this is more for like the new people that probably have never like been in an RP server before. And this is like their first server, welcome. We're glad that you're here. Um just remember that if you ever need to take like a mental break, you take that mental break because even if you're having a bad day and you need to like take a day off from the city, like do that for yourself and your mental health, as well as like if a scene doesn't go your way because everybody wants to win for some reason, I don't know, whatever. But if a scene doesn't go your way and it's like too much on you, like just take that time to just fly out and maybe come back later, and get yourself together. Just because, and I had a question about that, like if a scene, like if you have a really negative scene and it you know, like it's what am I trying to say? If you have a negative scene, um, and you're just over with it, like you're not trying to talk or anything or whatever, like would it be considered combat logging if you just fly out, or would you, because you would have to finish the scene, right?
Yeah, you kind of have to finish the scene because if it was, for argument's sake, the police had caught you and you were pissed off because they caught you, and then you decided because it was too much for you just to log out, that would be considered as combat logging.
Okay, okay. So yeah, just finish y'all scenes and take your little break, but definitely make sure you guys take those breaks because it's really needed for your mental health. So yeah, it keeps you
And to
alive.
take it a step further, if if you are caught by the police or you're down and you have EMS interaction or uh, whatever, you are still required to provide some interaction, or that could be seen as fell RP, right? So if you're not in, like you're just over it, you don't want to be in the city, then don't be in the city. Again, it just goes back. We've said it, 5 times now. You have to give a little bit of a shit that someone else's RP is going to be influenced by your actions and vice versa. And again, if we can all just capitalize on that, then be a much more enjoyable experience for all.
Right, right. And tone is everything. So if you feel like you had a scene with somebody and they weren't really into it, there is like RP appreciation that you can just shout them out and be like, "Hey, that was a good scene. I know like it didn't go in your favor, but yo, that was really good. Like keep up the good work." I don't know, something small like that. You never know, that could make somebody's day and it's like, "Damn, I really thought it was a bad scene, but you know, whatever." That's all I got. I don't know.
No, I get you. We're all voices in the night, pretty much. And to some of us, seeing our names up in appreciation gives us a bit of a boost. Shows us that we actually did something that impacted somebody else, makes people feel better.
Right, right. But I love you guys all and everybody in the community. You guys are awesome. All you guys are legends. And so yeah, that's all I got. Uh how do I exit this thing?
Bye, Miss King.
Thanks for coming up and talking. You did really well again.
I appreciate you. Bye.
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 Hey, Mark, did you say you were a lady in the night?
Just
I
lady.
said voices in the
Oh,
night.
It
voice,
doesn't
sorry,
it doesn't matter what the time of day is. He's still a lady.
If you hear voices in the night, you
You
might need to
wish.
take your medication.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Miss King. I know it's tough getting up here and talking in front of like 115 people, but we appreciate anybody that's willing to do it. So good for you.
Absolutely. I think we're all just a shade off of our rockers, and I don't know, it just is what it is. Try to make it seem easy. Sometimes I struggle with words.
You need to borrow Jerry's toilet paper. It works for him.
Yeah, I'm too busy Googling synonyms and I forget what I wanted to say by the time it's time to say it.
Antonyms.
So I think Bentley Stapleton's question was answered with the other one about
Yep.
tattoos.
Agreed. More tattoos.
More tattoos.
We kind of touched on this one earlier with females in the city. Please keep in mind, just to touch on the OOC portion there, just keep in mind that there is a rule about harassing folks outside of the city's Discord. So just make sure you're if you're reaching out and it's a cordial interaction, that's one thing. That's between you and that person. But if things start to become little sideways, if anybody ever feels harassed or feels like they're being looked at like a piece of meat or talked to like piece of meat, however you want to phrase it, please open a ticket.
I get it all the time.
Yeah, I bet you do, lady.
Yeah, the only meat you are is week old bad beef. Just to touch on what Finch said, we take that real serious, like real serious. So don't ever feel like you can't come to us. And I mean, even G will say, like, if you're not comfortable coming to the staff team, send Geardo a friend request. He wants that stuff directly. Send us, open a ticket. Let's talk about it. We don't want anybody to ever feel uncomfortable here, OOC or IC, if it's getting bad. So definitely come to us. And we are zero tolerance policy on that shit, 100%.
And that's male or female.
Yeah, I mean, God, stop sliding into Jerry's DMs all the time. I hear about it constantly. You're making him really uncomfortable about it.
That's why he's up there sorting out his Viagra.
Yeah. But no, seriously though, we do take that shit real serious. And if you don't feel comfortable opening a ticket, just send Geardo a friend request directly, and bring that stuff directly to him. We really don't want any of that here, and we do our absolute best to make sure it doesn't happen. The protection of the mental health and well-being of our player base is one of our top concerns. So definitely, please come to us anytime.
Looks like EMS is looking for some folks in the EU time zone. So if you're interested, have a character that's interested, go check them out.
Also, we're getting some EU EMS in the city, and I know that a lot of people are kind of used to not having EMS around during the EU times. It's one of the reasons why they sit outside the front in their deck chairs, letting people see that they're there. Please try and use the 311 system and allow them to come to you, because they're just sitting there otherwise doing nothing, and their little trip down to you is exciting for them, or if they have to take the helicopter or whatever, and you guys keep bringing your friends or down people back to Pillbox, it kind of takes that away from them. Yeah, let's just show a little love to the EMS.
All right. Looks like Winters has a whole laundry list here. People treating cops as they would IRL. I'm just going to say it kind of goes back to what I said earlier about the understanding of both cops and crims. Not everything has to end in gunfire. I don't know how many times I've been shot at in 600 days over a reckless evading charge. That's like a whole 5 months and a fine. It's more than likely, if I was the one booking you, it'd probably just be community service because it's kind of stupid to send you to Bolingbrook for 5 months. But nonetheless, you know, there's not saying people have to fear the cops, but the abundance of people not respecting cops, and I understand from a criminal standpoint, maybe you don't. But for me personally, it puts a lot of heat on you and your organization if I know you're always a kind of an ass to the police. Then the police say, "Oh well, everybody in a specific color is always an ass. They must be hiding something or whatnot." So just keep that in mind. And again, just kind of going back to MRPD, and we've had a couple of attempts where people have come in and tried to take hostages. Understand that PD should be looked at as not how many cops you can see, or well, our player count's maxed out, so there can only be X number of cops. You should always assume that MRPD is a major metropolitan police department. Going there and committing those types of acts probably not going to be in your best interest. So just when we say treating cops more like you would IRL, and we're just saying have some type of
Common
acknowledgement
decency.
and common decency for the fact that they've got badges and guns and they can take you to jail.
Remember, they're sitting behind a screen too. They're just an average everyday person. And just because they've got a badge on their chest doesn't automatically make them scum, or they have to be ridiculed by you because you're some kind of hard gangster. They're a human being, and you need to kind of appreciate that when you're dealing with them.
Correct.
And
Next thing,
sorry,
go ahead.
just to say, and let's not forget something else. If we don't have police in the city and police on duty, criminals can't do anything in the city. You can't go and rob banks, rob Bangelicos, and we need to look after our police force. I've heard quite a lot of people saying the cops are dumb in this city, or the cops are so bad, and cops are this and cops are that. Cops, in my opinion, do a fantastic job. Yes, some of them get it wrong. Some of them are just learning the job. They've only just started, and I think that people generally tend to overlook the fact that they are new and they are learning, and they expect everybody to be a super cop that knows everything and does nothing wrong, and it's just not the case.
Yeah, not everybody's Finch. All right, just
Thank
Easy,
God.
Finchy. Easy.
Buddy.
Look, what we're
Last
saying
time you at
is,
work.
we know that the cops aren't perfect. Nobody is. The criminals aren't perfect. That nobody's going to be perfect in this instance. Mark, you're not even on the radar. But I think a little bit of patience and a little bit of tolerance each way is going to be important. I mean, sometimes the cops get frustrated because the criminals are acting out or whatever, and sometimes the criminals get frustrated because the cops have done something that either they didn't know and they acted on wrong information, or they broke a little bit. Nobody, we ain't perfect, you know what I mean? But a little bit of tolerance and a little bit of understanding. I mean, there isn't a cop here, and I've had some interesting situations with the police, and I mean, there aren't any cops here I wouldn't at the end of the day sit and play Among Us with and laugh and have a good time. Like I there's no grudges for me. No, like I say, nobody's perfect, and we aren't going to better ourselves as a community unless we work together, all of us. And without cops, there's no criminal activity. But on the same flip of the switch, if there aren't criminals, the cops are going to get bored. So we have to get along, we have to work together, and we have to be able to make it work as a team together, or it's just not going to.
Did you say Among Us? I kind of pinged you as a Fortnite kind of guy.
I fucking hate you. I also don't play Fortnite.
Both games are garbage.
Yeah.
Listen here,
Say what
Jerry
I said.
Hellman. Who even let you in here?
So going back to kind of point one in this this deal here, people always running for like the craziest of things. Like you were speeding, you ran a red light. People want to turn that into a chase, or they wait for the cops to get up to the window and then they speed off. in certain circumstances, I understand that, but I would say a vast majority of the individuals in those interactions they don't have a warrant, never been in trouble. Um, Hell, maybe they have been in trouble, but they've not done anything wrong in that particular situation. And it does ruin the chance of RP for the cop. Like they've been driving around looking for something to do, and they finally find you, and they're able to make a traffic stop, and then their interaction is you saying, them asking you for your driver's license, you say "fuck you" and you drive off. It's kind of like, okay, and the in those situations we catch people and we hear a lot of this, well, I was just trying to give the cops something to do. Well, that's immersion breaking for one, and depending on how you want to look at it, it's cop baiting. We have things to do most of the time. We don't need to chase somebody who is just going to get a traffic citation. But just keep those things in mind. We've already talked about the unrealistic driving, and then the toxic attitudes. We talked about that towards the very beginning of all this, and law enforcement is not going to explain to you our SOPs. It's not for the knowledge of the community, if you will. Just like your local police department is not going to hand you their standard operating procedures so that you can figure out a way to work around their system. And I'll throw this in on top of it. We'll also say the penal code. There's a lot of criminals out there that like to argue criminal code. You live on Grove Street, you rob banks for a living. I don't think that you probably know the ins and outs, or should know the ins and outs of the penal code. So just keep those things in mind. You rob banks, I don't infringe on that. Don't infringe on my opportunity to talk through the penal code with you.
If you think a cop's in the wrong, give the lawyers something to do in the city.
Exactly.
They are literally crying out for stuff to do. I know of a couple of lawyers that are just bored because no one's calling them. If a cop does something wrong, call a lawyer, take it to court. I know the judges would love the bench trials. They would love criminal trials. Court RP, in my opinion, is some of the best RP we've ever had in this city, and we just don't get enough of it.
Pedro, you had something, buddy?
Yeah, I wanted to touch a little bit more on the EMS thing. So we've had calls to where we go to pick them up, see what was going on, and they have taken either a life flight or they've done something else. We've had people dial 311 while they were kidnapped and taken up to a mountain, and they pretty much spammed the call. We appreciate role play just as much as anybody else. If you're in a hurry, the interaction could last 5 minutes. That's fine. If you're like Rusty, where he crashed his semi, got ejected, he put in that he was drunk, he was covered in urine, so we went through there. We went through the steps. We notified PD. They came down. They talked to him. It was damn good. I love him for that. He's a good guy. I want more of those type of interactions. If you want to just come in and get patched up and then leave, not talk, not do anything, that's on you. Me as EMS, I'd rather, be on the scene, make sure the patient's okay. I'm not there for the money. I'm there to help people. I'm there to role play the scenario that is put in my lap, along with when Pepper and Riley go with me, when Javier with the chief of police, and that shootout yesterday. We showed up there. There was another gunfight. We did everything followed by the book. I loved it. But just try. What I'm saying is, people don't just do dial 311 and piss off. We're doing what we can to help make sure that people stay alive, and if we have no interaction with our patients, what is the point in me being there?
Yep, completely agree.
And
I feel like it's
I
a thing that's
require
said every
interaction
month.
for this. Honestly, I do.
understood.
We're
And-
not going to run around like the last city I was in. 30-second interaction. Here's this. I'm giving you this much medicine. Okay, bye. No, that's not how I want it to work. You get shot. Okay, we take you to X-ray. We cut your shirt off. We find out how many gunshot wounds you have. We take you into surgery. If it was a crime scene, we notify PD. Your suspect is ready. We do the paperwork and we ship them off. I'm not just gonna run around and be like, okay, here's a needle, bye. I'm sorry if
No,
I
I
sound.
understand.
I'm
No, no,
sorry
no,
if
no,
I
no.
sound a little frustrated. It's just that is something that's been bugging me. I love Pepper. I love Riley. Everybody at EMS. But when you have people like Rusty that comes in and he was phenomenal. He was great.
I
So
kind of
that-
feel like I say this on every community meeting about EMS and people needing to RP their injuries more and, you know, allow EMS to have their role play. It's kind of on the community to do it. And like I said, I feel like I say this every month. We just need to do better. Everybody does.
Like, so with him was he groaned. He did the audible the audio for him from him. The interaction with him was really good. We took him in. He notified us, hey, he smelled of alcohol and urine. Well, he said piss, but you know, for certain reasons, I'll use the word urine.
You used it
And-
anyway, so that kind of
okay.
defeated the whole purpose.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, the point is he notified us. Okay, so we switched our channels. We got to PD. They came down. They handled it. I loved it.
And that's good. That's the way
not
it should
enough.
be.
There's not enough of that. Like the scene yesterday where they were down by the courthouse with that shootout, the 4 suspects. Chief of police was there. And there was Kelly Price was there. And I loved that. But if somebody just comes in and be like, "Hey, I've been shot 5 times in the chest. Can you hurry up and get me out of here?"
Yeah, we
That's-
can chalk all this up to RP your injuries better. I feel like we can go on about this for a really long time, and we have a lot to get through.
sorry. I'm sorry.
I do appreciate you, and please don't think I'm trying to kowtow you, but like, we could literally talk about this for hours, and I don't have hours. So
No, that's fair.
role playing your injuries is important. We talk about it in the interview. This is another thing we bring up that some people seem to forget miraculously. Not everybody. I've had some really great injury role play, so I mean, I'm with it. Everybody I've role played with at EMS has been super great. Give these guys a chance to role play because they're here doing the same thing you are. They're trying to tell stories. And if you're giving them shit stories, it's going to make them frustrated. And then you're not going to have an EMS, and that's not what we want. So
Before I leave, I want to say one thing. If you come into the hospital and you're looking for roleplay, please use your /me and briefly describe what your injuries are, and we can go from there. That's
role play your injuries. That's important.
Yeah, it's a little long.
No,
It's
I
been,
appreciate you, Pedro. I do.
2.5
I think you
hours.
do a great job up there. I think all the EMS do, and I think if
2.5.
we give you guys just a little bit more, it'll enrich everybody's lives. So thank you for coming up and saying something. I definitely appreciate it.
I appreciate.
I could stream this chat here, maybe. Hold on. Let's see the chat.
We had this time.
Marnie.
Yeah,
So we
Kenny
had
said she has
Marnie's
to
brother.
dip. She has to
Oh.
dip. She'll be back.
Okay, perfect.
Why is this on this screen?
I just sorry, I wanted to bring this up. Going back a little back about
Oh, it's over here.
toxicity or whatever.
then
As
I
a
can't see
cop,
my
and many of
chat.
us do, we all kind of suffer from mental illness in some form or fashion. And the abuse and the verbal abuse that gets thrown at cops just because we have
I
a
don't
badge.
know that I.
Can we tone
suffer
that down a
from
bit?
mental
I have no
illness.
problem with the salty crim in the cage, like in a cell. I have no problem with them or being slightly salty, but the shit that gets thrown at us just for doing our job, it's ridiculous, and it can severely affect some of us with our mental health issues. I know many of us suffer from anxiety or depression, me including. And I just would like that to get toned down.
Yeah, I think as a whole, I think the whole attitude towards cops needs to change by criminals, because it is like I said, you know, the cop is a person that's at the end of a computer screen. You know, they're a human being, and although they're RPing as a cop, you know, it's difficult not to take on board some of the things that's being thrown at you because it's being thrown at you by a human.
There's just a lot. There's a lot of cribs out there. They will specifically say things to try and get on your skin and get a reaction out. And like, I had a good example. That's like the first time I met Kingsley in character. She tried to get under my skin. She tried to get a reaction, but she wasn't an asshole about it. It was just little sly remarks here and there. But then you got crims that come out and just tear you apart because of the job you're doing in the city. That's my whole spiel, is just tone down the toxicity against cops. We are normal people just wanting to do RP like you do.
I mean, toxicity would be a ruin fraction. So if there's an extensive amount of toxicity occurring, you should probably open a ticket, especially if it's that bad that you are feeling that you're either attacked or feeling some kind of way. I mean, that it wouldn't hurt to kind of bring that up. We try not to be toxic to anybody. You shouldn't be toxic to anybody. I don't care if they're cops or criminals. And I mean that the cops are not innocent of this. There are some cops that have been and can be toxic to criminals, you know, once they have them locked down. And I don't think it's necessary on either side to do that, because then you set a precedent, and then we get into situations where this comes up as a topic of conversation, and it should never come up as a topic of conversation. So let's just keep that in mind. And if you have something specific you want to report, feel free. You know, we're all ears. We are happy to address it.
I have nothing specific. It was just a generally I've been dealing with this from a lot of different crims have done it. Nothing that I really thought was big enough to put in a ticket. That's why I just was trying to address it here. Like, can we tone it down before it gets much worse than it already is?
Yeah, and I mean, like Phoenix said, if there's a problem and it's not as bad as a ticket, but it's still toxic, I mean, that's some solid RP too. Bring that shit up. You can if your cops are assholes to criminals, you can bring it up. Same way around. I mean, if it's bad enough that it's affecting your mental health, we need to know about it, because we shouldn't be having this conversation. This shouldn't be a problem.
That's it.
Shut up,
That's all I had
dog.
to say.
Stop whining.
Thank you kindly. We appreciate
have
you
a
coming up.
treat.
I know it takes some guts. We appreciate it.
I don't know how to leave.
You're stuck now. You're stuck up here with us forever.
There you
Bye.
go.
Moving on, next topic. I think this is a good one. You know, talking about new players coming in, and this was mentioned earlier. 4 or 5 days, they know how to do everything, and then they're rich, right? Like, why, if you came in and you had to figure out everything, why would you just teach or tell a new player everything without any type of, you know, RP behind them needing to know that information? I don't know. Maybe I think of it differently.
We
but
might
if
be
I was
halfway through the
a
list.
drug kingpin, or
Oh
if
my
I
god.
was really good at pulling off a specific heist, I wouldn't want to teach somebody else my way of life. They would take away from my opportunities. So just maybe find a way through the RP to be able to make that happen. I can tell you personally, once upon a time, I created a crim just because I didn't really understand or know how things worked when I first came into the city. And, you know, that information was just good for me to know as a staff member, not that it was used as a law enforcement officer. But it was nice to be able to go through that. And I found it funny in some
Yeah, there's a
circumstances
lot.
that I was just
It
trying
should
to
be a
learn,
ticket.
and I was asking questions, not the how do you get this done, but more of like, where can I find a specific product? Because I didn't want to ask a direct question and somebody just give it to me. And I found in most cases that people just gave me things, like for instance, a scale. I was asking, where do you find these certain items, or how could I maybe locate these certain items or buy them or whatever? And people were like, "Oh, you're making a scale here. I got an extra one. Just take this one." And it's like, yeah, but I wanted to make it. I wanted to know how to do it. So don't ruin that for somebody else. I know that in the moment they're chomping at the bit, and they just want to move on, and they just want to get to doing the big stuff. But I think there really needs to be a story in how someone came up. I mean, you shouldn't be new to the city and in 3 days you're robbing pack standard. I mean, I think you should be starting off robbing 24/7s and then trying to work your way up from there. But anybody else have anything on that? I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I think we've said this more than once, that we need to afford new players the opportunity to explore our city and give them the opportunity to figure out how things operate and the mechanics and so on and so forth. Not doing them any justice by just giving them the playbook.
Just takes all the fun away from it. When there's always biscuits in the biscuit barrel, where's the fun in biscuits?
Must be a EU thing.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I thought somebody else was going to say something.
I'm not gonna lie. I was about to Google biscuit barrel because I don't have a clue.
I didn't either.
Well, it's what you Americans call cookies. We call them biscuits.
Call it
there
cookie
it is.
jar.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
always cookies in the
understood.
cookie jar. Then there's no what?
Where's the fun in cookies?
Oh,
I'm sorry, Mark. You just got to stop because you derailed everybody with your nonsense. Like I don't even know why you're here at this point. You confused the shit out of Jerry. He's gonna have to take a break
Yeah.
now.
that boggled
Yeah.
my mind, man.
Yeah, no, I'm
He's take his
I'm
ginkgo
definitely
biloba.
I'm definitely gonna be sleeping with some cotton swabs in my ears later tonight, so that my brain doesn't leak out while I'm laying on the pillow.
Let's go. Next topic.
RP and crashes. Again, I mean, I think this goes to something we talked about earlier. Really goes in hand with what we talked about. If cops are going to role play that, Crim should role play that, vice versa. There's just not a lot of that happens. People smash into something at 100 miles an hour and they want to keep going, so the cops keep going. I think it goes into the message of the day, with respecting each other's RP and moving from that.
I'm just trying to have a cursory read at the rest of the questions here.
Yeah, same. Some of these things we've already talked through, so I will mention cop baiting again. Drive still in a vehicle and driving up and down Center Street with the car alarm going off, hoping that somebody's gonna run out and chase you. That's cop baiting. Just refrain from that. There's other ways to get the attention of law enforcement than something that's kind of petty.
Yeah, just go punch a cow somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll show up. They'll show up.
Or square up with somebody out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Go find the emptiest, widest patch of field you can, where you can't see for miles, and just punch your friend in the head. They'll come. That's the easiest way, and then you're gonna get the interaction you're looking for. I'm sorry.
Like it. Nope, I'm on board.
Glad we're all having a good day, huh?
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good
Yeah.
time here.
I mean,
Logan
from what I'm
question.
reading down here so far, it's basically criminals staging bikes. When you're hitting the car, actually do some accident RP. I mean,
I guess I mean, for me, everything I'm seeing has already been really touched on. If there's
it's kind
something
of
that,
what I'm thinking.
Yeah, if there's something that you feel that you mentioned in the topics, or if something's popped into your mind here as we've gone through
Oh, Ellis,
this
I'll
meeting.
grab that. So
Uh,
Ellis put something at the bottom there. I just want to hit on that because it's something that we absolutely talk about in every interview. Again, a lot of this stuff, I mean, some people I guess maybe just forget, but talking about your cousin or your brother, your sister, your aunt, when you're talking about your other character, it's actually not something we allow here. It's considered metagaming. Just stop it. Just stop doing it. Just don't do it. Just there's at no point in time you would ever need to reference your other character. They can't talk to each other. They can't share information. Like I give this same speech with every interview we do. I know Jerry does the same thing. I know Finch does the same thing. Gunny does the same thing. Mark does the same thing. But for people that maybe that we didn't interview, maybe it changed. But it's just kind of bad form. Like it's just kind of like why bother? Just don't do that. Like it's
You don't
unnecessary.
know
You're
them.
you're not extending your role play any by having that conversation. And it kind of ruins it for other people. And at the end of the day, it is a metagame infraction. So just don't do it. There's never a time you would need to reference your other characters. Just don't. There's just no reason.
I mean, you don't know them. You've never met them, so leave it that way. Well,
outs-
I think we've done the topics. I think we can probably just throw
I
this in
have
for hands up.
I just have one more. The state tow is up for sale. So if anyone is interested in picking up that piece of business, please submit an org ticket with your business plan. Staff will evaluate that and then make a decision as to who could be the new owner.
Truth. We've already had some people interested. So if you are interested, I would get on it. I would assume that the staff team would make a decision by the end of business tomorrow because that's a business that we need to be operating. I don't think it's going to take very long for us to make a decision on that. So if that is something you're interested in, make sure your business plan talks a little bit about why you think you would be a good owner, what you think you would be able to change, and how you think you would be able to operate it better than the next person. And don't come in expecting us to change everything for you. It's just not going to happen. Come in and take the business as it is. And once you're running it as it is and you're running it successfully, then come to me about changes, come to the team about changes, and we'll see what we can do. Please understand the dev team has absolutely the best interest of the city at the top of their list. And we aren't just going to change everything to suit just because a new owner comes in. So definitely, if you want to run the tow business, want to run it because it's a tow business, not because you think you're going to change the way the wheel functions. That being said, if you've run it for a little bit and you want to make some changes to it, I mean, that's probably fine. But just don't come in expecting the world to change for you in the next 3 or 4 days.
All right. As Mark said or mentioned, if there's something that you want to throw out there or you feel it wasn't, your topic maybe wasn't covered well enough, now's the time to ask for permission to come up here and say your piece.
We really do want to hear from you.
The bar next to the casino, as far as I'm aware, that is just a role play area. It's not currently for sale, nor do we have any plans for it to be for sale. You can go in there and role play having a drink. You don't need it to be an open business to do that. Just kind of, it comes up pretty frequently, that Irish bar, but it's not currently for sale, at least for the time being.
Join a server. Thank you for that advice, sir. I appreciate that. I am getting ready to.
All right,
Oh,
going once. Last call for alcohol.
Now's your chance to have your voices heard. If there's something you want to talk about, something you want to bring up.
You want to talk
this
about
is
how
the
much you
time to
hate
do
Mark,
it.
buddy? Now's the time. Definitely put your hand up. We'll let you come up and talk about
Wow.
Maybe he'll give you a biscuit.
Toxic.
Look, Mark, last meeting you shit on me the whole time. It's my turn. This is the way it is. Next meeting you can shit on me again, but it's my turn this time. Take your lumps like a man. I know you're old, but you know, we all get it sometimes.
Going twice.
If you're talking about Kelly Price's ticket that she opened up and submitted that report has some very specific things in it. That's not really community meeting topic. That's more like the staff team needs to go through that report and address the very specific points in it that would be considered rule infractions. I think I know the report you're talking about, and I would love to sit down with Kelly and have that kind of conversation and go over the more fine-tooth sections of that report. It's just not. It would take us forever to go through that report in this meeting, and I think that's something we should probably address. But I mean, we've already talked about a lot of the things in it in this meeting, just kind of generally, and I don't want to call anybody out specifically, so it would be impossible to discuss that report without doing so. So that's just not something we're interested in. That's not a productive way to use the time that we take in these community meetings.
Chance Lee, just accept that.
My bad if I.
Oh, that's impossible. We'd have to code that in. I mean, if the car gets impounded, that's in the impound. Not, I don't think there's any way we can just make that happen. It would be real difficult. We just have to kind of expect people to do the right thing.
Apparently.
Like I brought up, I think at the last meeting, some people are just really, really good at RPing their injuries. Susio was my favorite. He got hurt and he limped around with a sore back for, I don't know, like 10 days. Like it was a long time. He was broken up about it. He limped. His voice was strained. Like, just remember that role play is important, and I mean, the people around you will check your role play, or at least they should. I mean, my friends, I expect them to check my role play, and they do. I check my friends' role play. That's how to make things better. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what did you think about this? Do you think maybe it would have been better if you had to played it out like X? I mean, you don't have to be a dickbag about it, but I mean, checking your friends' role play is always a good thing. And there are really good role players in the city. Like Ellis. Ellis is a great role player. I use her as an example pretty much all the time. When she first came to the city, I watched her kick a garbage can around the city, just in character with nobody around her, just kind of walking around, talking to locals and role playing. And more people need to take the lead off of people like Ellis and people like Susio, the people that literally just live and breathe to be in character. This is how the role play gets better, is taking cues from the people that do such a good job. There are so many other good role players. Just because I didn't mention you doesn't mean you're bad. It just means that those are the ones that stick out the most in my mind. Situations where I've been like, God damn, that's some fucking absolute dedication. And I mean, just getting into it. The whole coding stuff. I mean, it's tough, right? Like, I don't think their code exists that says if a car touches water, it's out for a couple of days, and there's really no way to enforce it. It's just. Oh, I mean, that's actually not a bad idea, Phoenix. I'll get to that in a sec. There's just no way to code that in, as far as I'm aware, and if there is, I've never seen it. But I mean, if you have suggestions that would work that way, please make them. And Phoenix, that would be a great thing to put into suggestions so it doesn't get lost, and then Marlo can look and see if he can find anything that would facilitate that kind of RP to add into the clothing for some bandages or some injury based clothing. Sorry,
you guys-
Chance. Oh, what up, Marlo?
You all good?
I've seen cast the coming for male and female, but fighting clothing is hard to find. I'm looking at getting custom made stuff, so yeah. Sorry, I'm driving at the moment. That's why I'm not speaking too much.
We love you, buddy.
Don't crash.
Concentrate on driving.
Better than you every day, okay, Gunny?
Say what?
I drive better than you, real life and in character, okay?
Go eat some biscuits.
3 out of 7. I'll be here for a hot minute anyway.
Right, Chance, I think it's your time to talk, buddy.
Hi, I was just I was focused on eating, so if you already covered what I brought up in the topics and I missed it, then my apologies. But I just wanted to follow up and ask about what being staggered in gunfights. I love how gunfights work in the city. They feel long and drawn out, which I like. But I feel like something that completely shuts that off entirely is there's a high chance if you get hit with a high powered gun, and I get realistically it makes sense that you stagger and fall over. But when it comes to gunfights in city, like if you stagger, it's immediately over. And I've had a lot of situations where me or the person that I'm interacting with, whether it be in a gunfight or watching it, will be staggered, and then the gunfight's just immediately over. I didn't know if that's something that's like forced to be like that, or if that's something that could potentially be changed if people agreed with it.
I think that's a question more for the dev team. I know that there was a lot of work recently in the last couple of months that went into the whole gunplay thing within the city. So
So that might just be something I have to ask like any of the devs. Then I'm assuming.
yeah, I mean, if it's an issue, then raise it in a ticket and see what the dev team say. I mean, maybe there's something that could be adjusted, or maybe it is just the way it is.
Okay, yeah, I'll just handle it that way then.
Cool.
I appreciate it.
Thanks,
No
Chance.
worries. Noah Cutter's come up next.
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can
Hey,
hear you.
sorry if you already covered this, but I was just curious if there's any plans on upping the player count on the server.
I think we've upped the player count as much as we can without causing too many issues. I don't think there's any plans to try and make it any higher at the moment, although I could be wrong on that.
It was only just recently 80. So for all the new people, we actually went up to 110 and 120. We've gone a little bit higher, but it seems to cause some issues. So 120 right now is where we kind of sit as the sweet spot. I'm sure after some work, G will be able to find a way to optimize a little bit better and get a couple more out of it. But I mean, our main developer, just for those of you that don't know, our main developer and owner, he who is all holy Geardo, is also works full time. So he only has so much time to work on this, and he does an absolutely amazing job with the time he has. So we just gotta kind of be patient with him and expect that he'll make all of the right choices for the city as he can. Of course, we want to have more people in the
Is there
city.
the possibility of upgrading the server you're running on?
Oh, it's already very, very good. Just trust me when it's all about code optimization. So we're getting there. So just give him time, and give him time, he'll get there, and we'll be able to increase the numbers that we currently float. I remember, yeah, I remember not even that long ago when in the morning I would get on, there'd be 12 people on a Saturday morning, and now I think there was 63 people when I flew into the city today. So
Yeah,
we're
been a
growing.
busy day today.
Yeah, we're growing really, really quickly, and I know it can be frustrating to wait in queue. And of course, there is queue priorities available for those that don't want to wait. But right now, the 120 is kind of where we're stuck until G has a lot of time to be able to optimize a bit and get a little more out of it.
All right, thanks.
Cheers, brother.
Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up in the meeting? Anything that they want to talk to us admins about? Any concerns? Any issues, problems?
I'm telling you, this is the time for all those complaints about Mark Buddy. Now is the time for you to come forward and be heard. I know you have them.
I pay people very well.
Yeah, evidently. Yeah, evidently.
To Winter's question, yes, as much as it can on the server side. There's some optimization you could do on your machine that can help to smooth and provide some better experience. If
Also,
ev-
can I just jump in while you're just
Yep.
saying that? My DMs are always open to anybody in here. I'm pretty
For
good
violence.
with computers. Yeah, I'm pretty good with computers. I know a fair amount about them, and I seem to have quite a knack for being able to get the best out of this city just by going through the computer with you. So feel free to message me at any point. I don't mind helping anybody out.
You stroke your own ego like a fucking champion, homie.
and
I mean, I've had a lot of practice.
I will tell you that my PC's like middle of the road, and I thought when I got like a new 3000 series card that I'll just play everything on like the highest everything, and Mark was able to take an entire afternoon, I think it was, between restarts and flashes and all kinds of fun stuff. But really, I mean, the only time I seem to have head pops anymore is when my driver is out of date. So if you're not keeping up with your drivers, you definitely want to take a look at that. And there's some different programs out there that you can get through Steam, free versions that will look at other drivers that maybe Windows is not looking at on a consistent basis. So if you're looking for that kind of help, Mark or even myself, I can help with those types of
Loading
things.
in.
But you kind of have to swallow with FiveM, you have to swallow your ego and be willing to say that maybe normal is a better setting than very high.
Definitely, and a lot of times when I've actually gone through people's PCs and got them so they don't head pop as much and made their experience in the city better, they don't notice anything graphically different. It's kind of weird the way that FiveM is, but yeah, like I said, my DMs are always open. I'm willing to help anybody, except Angel.
I don't need your help, Mark.
Oh, you need a lot of help.
Yeah, but not from you, old man. Dave,
Get a room.
is there any way we can get more DOC work? I don't know what else DOC could do, but that's a question for Jerry and Finch. I mean, at the end of the day, DOC is strictly an employee of the prison. I know the police are trying to give you as many people as they can to keep you busy. So I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's happening. I would
So
like to see a
poor.
DOC used more in court cases as well. Perimeter protection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like now is a really good time to see what Jerry and Finch kind of have in store for that, being that that's their department.
Well, and I'll say this to the community: maybe the folks that typically run or get into shootouts all the time. There's a whole nother world to explore now with having a DOC. I think there's some interaction that could take place RP wise in the prison. So don't miss out on that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go up in my fucking uniform.
Not saying you have to show up to PD and turn
Or
yourself
be in your
in,
detective
but
uniform.
just saying if you get arrested, don't look at it as such a negative thing. You got some people up there to interact with now.
I'll be honest. I think.
Well, it looks like we've covered virtually every topic that anybody wants to talk about. I think I'll just take this opportunity to thank you all for the huge turnout that we've had in here for this meeting. It's been great to see you all in
Chloe,
here.
I know you want to kiss your friends. If you can find whatever it is, the emote pack that has that in it, you can submit it. I know you do. I get it. I understand. And we want you to be able to do it if that's what you want, but you got to bring it to us. Find the emote pack that has that in it. I know it exists somewhere, and if it can work, it'll work, and if it can't work, then we'll have to unfortunately tell you that it can't work. But you'll have to find that specifically for us to look at.
Let's hope it does.
I'm glad I was able to interrupt
I
Mark
bet you
Buddy
do,
one more
Jerry.
time.
Easy, Jerry.
Fucking Jerry.
Take your placebos.
I think what Mark was saying is we had a super good time. It was a really long meeting. We talked about a lot of shit. Thank you everybody that had the cojones to come up here and speak. It's not easy. It's real rough to get up and speak in front of 100+ people. It's not always for everybody, and we're glad that people were able to come out. we're glad that people were able to speak their mind and put their topics in the meeting channel and for us to talk about. If at any time you have more questions or more concerns, please just open up a ticket, ask staff channel, ask in support, and we'll give you the absolute best we can every single time. From my point, thank you so much for coming, and I'll leave the boys to say their goodbyes.
They're only 25.
Just remember, we've got nothing without you guys. You make this city great, and you do a really good job. And it's nice to see so many new faces, mostly thanks to the app team in here. Just carry on RPing and having fun.